This hour by Frederick Remington, fully cooked, ready-to-eat bacon. Exclusive, no refrigeration, 10-year extended shelf life bacon. The thickest, meatiest, center-cut bacon in the industry at fullycookedbacon.com.
The stocks discussed on Wall Street Raw are not in any way a recommendation or solicitation to buy, sell, or hold. If considering on acting on information, we first recommend you seek out a competent, licensed professional for advice.
What kingdom has sent you?
The kingdom of the Most High.
Nothing you have ever experienced can prepare you for the unbridled carnage you're about to witness. The Super Bowl, the World Series, they don't know what pressure is. In this building, it's either kill or be killed. You make no friends in the pits and you take no prisoners. 1 minute, you're up $500,000 in soybeans, and the next, boom, your kids don't go to college and they've repossessed your Bentley. Are you with me?
The Genesis Communication Network is proud to bring you Wall Street Raw with nationally recognized market timer and previous Wall Street Week elf, Mark Leibovit, welcoming you on board his financial time machine. And here is the elf himself, Mark Leibovit.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to Wall Street Raw on Saturday, September 1st, on this long Labor Day weekend. We're certainly thrilled that you took time to tune in, and we have a jam-packed show for you today with a bunch of guests. Our guests will include our good friend Sinclair No. Hopefully we'll hear from Ray Merriman, who's traveling in Europe today. Henry Weingarten hopefully will join us, Don VIALOUX, and perhaps even Harry Boxer. So don't touch your dial. It should be an exciting show. Some of the interviews we do have on the show are sponsored interviews, so we want to disclose that. Meanwhile, VRTrader.com is my website. If you want to go there, we have a bunch of newsletters. We have our cannabis letter, which has been a really hot area right now. We may spend more time on segment 3 talking about the legalities of that industry, and it's been big winners for us at VRTrader.com. We have a trading addict letter. We have our crypto letter. So VRTrader.com is a place to go if you're looking for some diversified products covering various sectors and stocks, individual stocks. Many of you may know me, or many may not know me, but those who you do recall that I used to be an elf on that old Louis Rukeyser TV show way back. Frankly, the show started in the 1970s, ended in the late 90s. And I was with Paul Kangas for 30 years on that great nightly business report, which was on PBS. So some of the old-timers remember me out there. Some of the newcomers don't even know those shows existed, but they were the biggest at the time, and they were the forerunners of what we all see today with all the other national financial programs. Meanwhile, without further ado, I don't want to hold our first guest on the line any longer than need be. Our good friend Jim ROHRBACH from Investment Models has been kind enough to tune in today, and we'd like to talk to Jim. Jim ROHRBACH's been doing this probably about 50 years, and he's one of the great market timers, good friend of mine, and we love having him on the show. Jim, thank you again for joining us.
Well, I'm glad to be here, Mark. I want to hit right at the beginning that we're running late on my free newsletter. So if anybody wants to get it, it's free. You just send an email to Jim, J-I-M, at ricksindex.com and you could mention that you heard it on the radio. It's free. When I say free, we don't ask for your credit card. And why should you get it? Well, you'll get 2 newsletters a week for the next month. And in those newsletters, I make every one of my subscribers an instant market timer. They know precisely from my numbers when to get in and when to get out of the market. Now, one of the toughest things in investing is listening to all the noise and discussions on TV and radio telling us what the market is going to do. It becomes very confusing, and it's really confusing when you realize that the guys who are telling you that stuff don't know what they're talking about. Anyone who says they can predict the future course of the stock market is not telling you the truth. If someone said to me that the market was going to go up or down for the next 3 to 6 months, I only have one question for that person.
Okay.
What's it going to do tomorrow?
Okay. Well, you've been doing this long enough. And, Jim, you've been currently on a buy signal here for several months, if I recall, correct?
Yes, I am, and since April. And it's up about 7.2% on the S&P since then. And as you know, Mark, there were a lot of swings in interest and explanations of what was happening in the market recently. You can't listen to those. If you don't have an alternative, I guess you have to listen. But I really hope people listen and send for my free newsletter, because they will instantly know when they read the newsletter what the trend of the market is when we get in. What they don't know is when we're going to get out, but we explain how we notify them. So you can sit back and relax with your investment if you know the trend. And if you know when the trend changes, you're the smartest guy on your block. You're a market timer.
Right. Now, Jim focuses more on the overall market, folks, as you sense from our commentary here this morning. He doesn't really cover individual stocks. So you usually, the vehicles you use, Jim, are the commission-free RIDEX funds, correct? That's what you recommend?
I do have some funds that I recommend, but the key to my job is I base everything on what the S&P 500 is doing. So I have my money invested in 500 stocks. And if one of them goes bad, it won't hurt me. And what I'm saying there is, depending on your age, your mission should be to keep what you have and have it grow. If you're a young person, you ought to get on the ball real quick and start studying the stock market. Some time ago, I recommended Amazon to my friends at one of the investment clubs I speak in. It was $600. I guess it's $2,000 now. That's the kind of thing a young person should try to latch on to. And it's a little difficult to pick them out, and it's not good to pick them after the fact. But I have a strategy that I can explain to anyone that will tell you if you were invested in Amazon when you should get out. It's not my RIX index. That's based on the S&P 500.
All right, so if our listeners want to get in touch with you again and get that free newsletter, Jim, they go to jim@rixindex.com, and Jim will be happy to send it to you. I encourage all of you to take advantage of that free trial. Jim will be back with us hopefully as often as he can, and thank you for taking the time, Jim. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great weekend. Have a great Labor Day weekend. Thank you.
I will. Thank you.
Jim from RIX. investmentmodels.com, but Jim at rixindex.com to get a free copy of his newsletters. We were hoping to hear from our good friend Ray Merriman, who's traveling in Europe, but apparently he was unable to join us. Maybe he will later in the program. And, of course, we will have our good friend Sinclair No joining us. We have Harry Boxer in the wings. We have Don VIALOUX, Henry Weingarten, so plenty to talk about on the show. And again, I appreciate you tuning on the Labor Day weekend. We traditionally have markets experience some indigestion during the September-October period, so we're coming into that, and a lot of the money managers have been buying stocks into the end of the quarter. So basically, or end of the month, I should say, end of the month window dressing occurring here at the end of August. So we're probably seeing a little pullback occur after the holiday is over. So that wouldn't surprise me. One of the hottest areas, of course, we've talked about numerously on this show is the cannabis stocks, which had a big run here just before the holiday. So don't touch your dial. We'll be back after the break, and thank you for tuning in to Wall Street Raw.
You're listening to Wall Street Raw with Mark Leibovit. Go to wallstreetrawradio.com for information on Mark's newsletters and products. Stay tuned. Mark will be right back.
alkaline water, or know someone that does, you're going to love the Dillon Living Water Bottle. It creates alkaline water on the go while reducing plastic waste and saving you money. Made with surgical-grade stainless steel, the Dillon bottle increases the pH up to 9 to deliver both alkaline and antioxidant water anywhere you want it. Alkaline water is healthier, tastes better, and can even boost energy. The Dillon bottle makes it easy and affordable to be healthy and achieve optimal hydration. Get your Dillon bottle today at dyln.co. That's dyln.co.
We are GCN, the Genesis Communications Network. We've got listeners, lots of them. Around the world, around the clock, our listeners do what listeners do. They listen. And you know what listeners got? Needs. Needs for your products, your services, and money to buy those needs. With our network of over 1,000 radio stations, streaming on the web, and our satellite transmissions, we're reaching our listeners with quality conservative programming. But there's something our listeners don't have. Your offer to meet their needs. Any business needs buyers, but if our listeners don't hear your message, they're still going to buy what they need, just not from your business. So let's fix this. Tell us about your business. Then let our super creative department go to work to craft just the right message for our GCN listeners. Get started today with GCN, the Genesis Communications Network. Just shoot us an email. advertise@gcnlive.com.
When you use public Wi-Fi, hackers and identity thieves can see anything you do online. Embarrassing photos, your web history, even your passwords. That's why I use private internet access to encrypt my internet connection for less than 10 cents a day. Sign up now at privateinternetaccess.com, and in just a few minutes, you'll be browsing anonymously and only sharing what you want to share. privateinternetaccess.com. It's time to protect your online privacy.
Healthcare reform is confusing, but whether it's finding an affordable insurance plan, keeping your doctor, or being able to afford needed prescriptions, navigating the healthcare system has become a challenge. Control your own healthcare costs and choices with Liberty HealthShare. Liberty HealthShare is not insurance. It is an association of self-pay patients who unite with like-minded people to share the cost of each other's medical needs. Neighbor helping neighbor. Learn more now by going to libertyoncall.org. That's libertyoncall.org.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, the inventor of MyPillow, and like all of you out there, I had problems sleeping. Pillows would go flat, I would flip-flop all night long, I would wake up with a sore neck, maybe a headache, or feel like I needed a nap even though I slept 8 hours. When I invented MyPillow, I wanted it to where you could move the patented fill to give you the exact support you need as an individual, regardless of sleep position. MyPillow will get you into that deep REM sleep faster, and you will stay there longer. It's not about how much time we spend in bed, it's about how much of that quality sleep we get. I do all of my own manufacturing right here in the United States. I have a 10-year warranty. You can wash and dry my pillow, and I give you a 60-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. And here's my best offer ever. You can buy one of my pillows and get one absolutely free.
Go to mypillow.com or call 800-870-0305 and use promo code GCN. That's mypillow.com or 800-870-0305 with promo code GCN.
Do the letters IRS give you anxiety? I'm Dan Pilla. I've defended people from the IRS for more than 40 years. My book, How to Get Tax Amnesty, created the tax resolution industry and is responsible for helping hundreds of thousands of people. It can help you, too. If you're a non-filer or facing IRS enforcement right now, your case is unique. You need real help, not cookie-cutter advice. My clients get my personal attention. Buy my book at danpilla.com and get a free consultation directly with me. That's danpilla.com. Let's start solving your tax problem right now.
Think positive. Never show any sign of weakness. Always go for the throat. Buy low, sell high. Fear, that's the other guy's problem.
Welcome back to the Wall Street Raw Radio Show with Mark Leibovit, your time machine for the financial markets. Want to know more? Go to wallstreetrawradio.com. Now, here's the elf himself, Mark Leibovit.
Welcome back to Wall Street Raw on this Saturday, September 1st, long Labor Day weekend here in the U.S., the holiday. So trading resumes on Tuesday here in the U.S., so some are taking a break. Some traders have already left for the weekend, and that's certainly not uncommon. Meanwhile, our good friend Don Vialou has been kind enough to join us, updating a little bit on the Canadian situation. Don Vialou publishes two great blogs. One is equityclock.com, and the other is timingthemarket.ca, and he's our regular guest on this program. Don, thank you again for joining us.
Thanks for having me back, Mark.
Well, we know historically the month of September is the weakest month of the year. Any reason you think that would change this year versus previous years?
Yeah, it's fascinating. Both markets have a history of moving lower in the month of September, particularly in the second half of the month. Now, there's a reason for this. A lot of analysts give some pretty optimistic estimates for the first half. Then they see what the second quarter results are, and whoops, maybe they're not going to be so good after all. And that's when frequently analysts will lower their estimates coming into the month of September and for the rest of the year. So that probably is going to happen once again this year. On the charts, the U.S. markets are overbought and are starting to show some early signs of rolling over. In the case of the Canadian market, it actually started to roll over on July the 13th and has continued to move lower since that time.
Yeah, when you look at stocks in the U.S. like Amazon and Apple, you wouldn't think that is happening at all, but many other stocks are beginning to roll over. So unfortunately here we've got a couple big stocks more or less masking some of the other weakness that could be unfolding in the market. We'll see how it all pans out. Meanwhile, the Trans Mountain Pipeline was a headline story in Canada this week, right?
Yeah, that was a biggie up here in Canada. No, within the half an hour on Thursday, two things happened. First of all, shareholders ratified the sale of the Trans Mountain Pipeline to the Canadian government for $4.5 billion. Then about half an hour later, it was like, the federal government. On that particular day, the Federal Court of Appeal quashed the Canadian government's construction permits for expansion of the pipeline. Not good news for the federal government, I can tell you. Canadian oil stocks reacted almost immediately. Most of the oily stocks moved significantly lower. Canadian Pacific, the largest transporter of Canadian oil by rail, moved to an all-time high.
Wow. Speaking of all-time highs, we didn't discuss this off air, but one of the biggest movers have been the Canadian marijuana stocks again this past week, just surging in anticipating of the legalization coming up next month. What are your thoughts there?
Yes, a very nice breakout by the marijuana ETF last week to new recent highs. As we get closer and closer to October the 17th, which is when the use of cannabis by the public becomes legal, you're probably going to see continued and positive anticipation in these cannabis stocks.
Right, and that ETF you mentioned, HMMJ, is the way to play it, correct?
That's correct. That's the easiest way of playing it. Very liquid ETF to trade as well.
Well, the big story on the news down here is, of course, the NAFTA negotiations, which President Trump doesn't want to use the word NAFTA anymore. But anyway, we had the settlement with Mexico, but apparently Canada, we have some ongoing negotiations. What's your read on what's happening with the Canadian-U.S. negotiations?
Wow, this is having a big impact on both U.S. and Canadian markets. On Monday of last week, the U.S. market moved smartly higher because of that deal with Mexico. And as we got closer and closer to negotiations with Canada, it looked for a while that Canada was going to complete the negotiation favorably with the U.S. by Friday. But then all of a sudden, people started to take a second look and said, maybe this isn't going to happen after all, or at least not right now. On Friday, the Canadian dollar dropped by over a half a cent relative to the U.S. dollar. So that's a big drop for the Canadian dollar for one day. That implies that there might be a deal, but it's not likely to be done quickly or within the next few days.
Well, we're doing this interview on Friday, so we'll see what unfolds over the weekend, Don. So I know you don't have a holiday on Monday, but things should be a little bit slower for you up in Canada, and we'll be talking to you, I'm sure, next week. So thank you so much. We'll update the whole Canadian situation at that time. Have a great weekend. We're talking to Don Vialou from equityclock.com and timingthemarket.ca. We'll talk to you next week, Don. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Mark.
On the line is our good friend Henry Weingarten from afund.com. Henry, thank you for joining us on a Labor Day weekend.
Sure, my pleasure.
Okay, so here we are coming into September. Everybody's worried about September. What do you think?
Well, if you're worried, I'd be worried about as you get closer to the Fed meeting, and as you get closer to the fall equinox, I think short term there's nothing to worry about. The markets are going to be higher in November and December, so there'll be a little rock and roll in September and October, but they're going to be higher. Next year there's some times you want to be selling. This year, it really doesn't matter. If you're a trader, of course, you buy and sell. But if you're an investor, it really doesn't matter. Although the NASDAQ at 8,100 is a place you may want to protect. But, the S&P is probably going to go to 2,950. The Dow is going to go another 500 to 1,000 points up. So it doesn't really matter.
Okay, so what you're implying, we only have a couple minutes here, or maybe you're not implying, is that the election's going to go pro-Trump, and it won't be as negative as...
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's pro-Trump. Trump will be very positive right afterwards. So I assume it will be. But we also have the Chinese markets fairly strong in November and December, not only just the U.S. market. So I think there could be a settlement of the China thing, which would be a massive rally in the markets.
Okay, so the market could rally November, December, even if the House goes for the Democrats, is what you're saying.
Doesn't matter. I hope that doesn't happen, but it doesn't matter. However, I think by mid to late December, you definitely want to take action, because even though, this year we didn't sell in May and go away, next year we will, and we may start that as soon as December.
Okay. All right, so what?
For 6 months, then we come back into the market again.
Okay.
Half next year we like.
We only have about 30 seconds, Henry. What about the gold market? Any sign of bottoming here, in your opinion?
Yes, by October. The worst is over, but certainly we think by October it will start moving up. Seasonally it's good September. Astrologically, I think the reality will set in properly, and by October it will start doing better.
Okay, is there a breakout number short term that would get you more motivated?
No, it has nothing to do with the numbers. It's timing. It's just a question of reality. I mean, of course, we're going to have at least one interest rate increase, maybe two, and but it doesn't matter. Gold has value. Imagine if you were in any other currency but the U.S. dollar. Suppose you were if you were in Argentina. Don't forget Venezuela. You could be in Argentina. Suppose you were in Turkey. All those people,
right.
Gold is golden.
Henry Weingarten from afund.com. Talk to you next week, Henry. Thank you.
My pleasure. Good holidays.
Go to WallStreetRawRadio.com for more information on Mark's newsletters and products. Stay tuned. Mark will be right back.
High-performance investors and traders use superior financial tools to achieve superior returns. You have that tool with Mark Leibovit, nationally renowned top market timer, legendary television Wall Street Week elf, and nightly business report market monitor, who shares with you his unique market tools and commentary at wallstreetraw.com. Here, Mark provides you with his latest ideas on how to help build and protect your wealth and help you avoid the next big market tsunami. Mark has a special free gift for listeners of his Wall Street Raw radio show. Go to wallstreetraw.com and sign up for his free monthly Cannabis Vice News Raw report. While there, go ahead and sign up for his free monthly Gold News Raw report. Both are totally free. No credit card information is required, and no one will call. Sign up today for your free Cannabis Vice News Raw report and Gold News Raw report at wallstreetraw.com.
Policies issued by American General Life Insurance Company, Houston, Texas. Not available in all states. For details, visit AIGdirect.com.
If you're young and healthy, you don't need life insurance, right? Yeah, that's what I used to think, too, until my brother died at 38. Joe left his wife with 2 kids, a mortgage, and a stack of bills she couldn't pay. Mary had to sell the house and move everybody into this tiny 2-bedroom apartment just to make ends meet. I never want to do that to my wife, so I got life insurance. I called AIG Direct and was really surprised how affordable it is. Just $14 a month for $250,000 of term life coverage. Listen, if you have a family, you should seriously think about getting life insurance. You'll feel a lot better having it, trust me.
Call AIG Direct for a free, no-obligation quote. The call takes less than 5 minutes, and you could save up to 70%. Call now. 1-800-910-7981. That's 1-800-910-7981. 1-800-910-7981.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-318-4349 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-318-4349. Again, that's 800-318-4349.
We all know that Berkey Water Purification Systems are the most trusted name in water filtration. As an authorized Berkey dealer for over 6 years and serving thousands of satisfied customers, the Berkey Guy offers amazing specials for Berkey Water Filtration Systems. The Berkey Light Systems include a set of self-sterilizing and recleanable black purification elements that purify water by removing chlorine, pathogenic bacteria, cysts, and parasites to non-detectable levels and remove harmful chemicals such as herbicides and pesticides. Order the Berkey Light System today, complete with 2 black Berkey elements for only $231, and the Berkey Guy will ship your order free of charge. With the purchase of a Berkey Light, the Berkey Guy is also offering a set of fluoride and arsenic filters for only $39.99. That's over 30% off the retail price. Call the Berkey Guy at 1-877-886-3653. That's 1-877-886-3653. Or order online at GoBerkey.com. That's GoBerkey.com today.
Welcome back to Wall Street Raw. Want to know more about Wall Street Raw and the Leibovit VR newsletters? Go to wallstreetrawradio.com.
Welcome back to Wall Street Raw on this long Labor Day weekend. We're on the air September 1st, the Saturday, and back in business on Tuesday. Meanwhile, I'm going to spend a little time here, and we're waiting for our special guest, Harry Boxer, to show up. And if he doesn't, we'll pick him up next week. It is a holiday weekend. We'll talk a little bit about there's no rational way to justify America's drug laws. This has a lot to do with my cannabis newsletter and my success in that area. It's been astronomical what's happened in this group here. But people assume a medical committee sat down to consider which recreational drugs were the safest and least addictive. As you know, the DEA has scheduled marijuana and CBD as, dangerous drugs. And this wise group decided alcohol and tobacco should be legal while marijuana and everything else shouldn't. And that's not what happened. A little background here. In 2013, CNN's medical correspondent Sanjay Gupta offered a rare public apology. He admitted that he was wrong about medical marijuana, had been too dismissive of patients' claims about its effectiveness, lumping them with high-visibility malingerers just looking to get high. The story of his reversal reveals a fundamental ongoing problem with the way the media and public view our drug laws and why we need to understand their origins to move forward. And I'm very sympathetic to this because I have a member of my family who had an opioid issue, so we know exactly what drugs can do to you. Admissions of error from either journalists or doctors, of course, are unusual and of themselves, but this is one of triply exceptional in that it author had recognized that it had been taken by conventional wisdom. So Gupta said, I mistakenly believe the Drug Enforcement Agency listed marijuana as Schedule I substance because of sound scientific proof. Surely it must have quality reasoning as to why marijuana is in this category of the most dangerous drugs that have no accepted medical use and a high potential for abuse, quote unquote. They didn't have the science to support that claim, and I know now that when it comes to marijuana, neither of those things are true. Indeed, few of our laws regarding psychoactive drugs, with the exception of those related to pharmaceuticals for medical use, regulated by the FDA, are based on either science or reason. This is really incredible, but most people seem to assume, as Gupta did, that at some point a committee of wise and knowledgeable medical authorities sat down to consider which recreational drugs were the safest and least addictive. This august group then decided that alcohol, tobacco, and caffeine would be legal while marijuana and everything else should not. The assumption that this completely imaginary process occurred comes from an underlying bias that we all have had, which is to believe that laws are generally made for good reasons, even though we don't know what they are. In fact, however, our drug prohibitions have created after a series of moral panics over race and immigration. And they have locked us into a regulatory system in which no recreational drug that was favored by or known to the 19th century colonists, regardless of whether it does anyone harm, can ever be approved. If more people knew the history and the press stopped simply assuming that these laws were rational, we'd be much better off. Cocaine, for example, was first banned via state laws in the South. In 1905, a headline in the New York Times on the subject read, "Negro Cocaine Evil," and quoted a police officer who said that there was nothing too awful for the cocaine user to attempt use under its influence. And an infamous piece in the New York Times headed, "Negro Cocaine Fiends and a New Southern Menace," written by a doctor. That was the headline. It claimed that coke not only made black men better marksmen, but also rendered them less vulnerable to bullets, requiring police to use higher caliber weapons to kill them. Cocaine was widely used by black railroad workers of the time. Some of their bosses even promoted this use to spur their back-breaking labor, according to Scott Reynolds Nelson in his History of the Folk Legend of the Railway Worker John Henry, Steel-Driven Man. You have seen stories about him over the decades, but as cocaine spread, so did white fear of its strengthening properties. As historian David Musto points out in his book, The American Disease, Origins of Narcotic Control, the fear of cocainized black coincided with the peak of lynchings, legal segregation, and voting laws, all designed to remove political and social power from him. Fear of cocaine might have contributed to the dread that the black might rise above his quote-unquote place as well, reflecting the extent to which cocaine may have released defiance and retribution. So opium bans also began in western states around the turn of the 20th century, and these two were linked with a feared group of railroad workers who might threaten whites, in this case Chinese immigrants. Panic included lurid coverage of white slavery and stoked fear that Chinese men were using opium to seduce white women and girls into a life of degradation and crime. Both drugs were banned federally in 1914 under the guise of a tax law, the Harrison Narcotics Act, which evolved into our current absolute prohibition. Alcohol prohibition came next in 1919, and this ban was also linked to a fear of alien, quote-unquote, others. In this case, it was propelled in a large part by fears about rising numbers of German and Irish immigrants who were seen as backwards and impossible to assimilate. The Ku Klux Klan was a major force behind prohibition, as they feared alcohol would spur a rebellion, and membership between that group and one of the leading lobbyists for prohibition, the Anti-Saloon League, showed significant overlap. There was also some support for prohibition from the black community, but for the opposite reasons. Black intellectuals like Frederick Douglass saw alcohol use as a form of slavery. Well, we're going to pick up this next week. We have about 2 minutes left, and I want to touch base with our good friend Harry Boxer from the techtrader.com. Harry, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here as usual. What's up on your end?
Well, I just interrupted a whole tirade about the legality of cannabis and why it's fraudulent that we have marijuana as a Schedule I drug, but I'll figure out this next week's commentary, and we'll go into more detail. Meanwhile, the cannabis stocks had a huge run this week, so let's talk about them.
Yeah, I mean, I put swings 3 times on cannabis CGC, and 3 times it hit my target and backed off, and I don't even know if it's dead yet. They did give some hard profit taking, but if you look at CGC, for example, just since yesterday, it's gone from 42 and change back up to 46 and change. And it looks to me like it blows through here. We'll retest that high at 48 and maybe blow into the low 50s. Same thing with, and the shorts are going to get killed on me. Tilray, an amazing chart. If you look at that chart, look at a 15-minute chart of TLRY, and you'll see that it's got ramped from 24 on the 15th to 65 on the 31st. That's 2 weeks, 24 to 65. And yet, it doesn't look done yet. And my momentum tells me it could be 70, 72, and even 80, 85. It blows off. That could be amazing. But if marijuana stocks go into blow-off phase, we could see, 55.60 on CGC and 75.80 on TLRY. Even that little CRON that got whacked by Citron is coming back too. They got that down to 8, and here it is. It's traded over 10 today. Right now, it's 9.83.
Yeah, that was a remarkable start overnight. We heard, or late close yesterday, that Citron, apparently a money management firm or hedge fund, put out a short recommendation, and they drove CRON down. Now it's bouncing back a little bit. But the big run in Tilray, Harry, wasn't that based on a rumor that DEO, the big liquor company, might merge or do a deal with them?
Well, partially, but they also came out with a good report. So, I mean, it's a combination of factors. But I think if you look at the chart, just the chart itself, it's incredible strength, relative strength, outstanding. It's up another 631 or 11% today on 6 million shares. Very, very strong. Right? Over 65 right now.
Right, we're taping this interview on Friday, just before the long Labor Day weekend. So we're going to run out of time, Harry, but I want to at least touch base with you, particularly on this particular hot group, which has been near and dear to my heart and yours, to your subscribers. So if you want more information, folks, go to thetechtrader.com. Harry, you still have that free 2-week trial, right?
Right, and no credit card necessarily. And also want to throw out that I want you, our subscribers or your listeners, to keep an eye on VKTX, Viking Therapeutics. It's got an outstanding chart. They have data coming soon. It could be one of those stocks that opens on a gap of 100% if the data is good. It's right now 13. I could be 25 pretty quickly.
Harry Boxer from thetechtrader.com. Talk to you next week.
You are listening to Wall Street Raw with Mark Leibovit. Go to wallstreetrawradio.com for information on Mark's newsletters and products. Stay tuned. Mark will be right back.
High-performance investors and traders use superior financial tools to achieve superior returns. You have that tool with Mark Leibovit, nationally renowned top market timer, legendary television Wall Street Week elf, and nightly business report market monitor, who shares with you his unique market tools and commentary at wallstreetraw.com. At wallstreetraw.com, Mark provides you with his latest ideas on how to help build and protect your wealth and help you avoid the next big market crash. Mark has a special free gift for listeners of his Wall Street Raw radio show. Go to wallstreetraw.com and sign up for his free monthly Cannabis Vice News Raw report. While there, go ahead and sign up for his free monthly Gold News Raw report. Both are totally free. No credit card information is required. Sign up today for your free Cannabis Vice News Raw and Gold News Raw reports at wallstreetraw.com. That's wallstreetraw.com.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you a few from Amazon.com. By Mel. Great product. My husband and father-in-law use it regularly. Both my husband and father-in-law have had significant change in their blood pressure and overall health. By Amazon customers. It works for me. Returned to buy the tincture and the capsules as they were on sale during February. Unlike some other products, this one worked for blood pressure and occasional irregular heartbeat. Extendivite produced noticeable results after just 2 bottles, a 4-month supply. I take Extendivite 3 times a day, every day. I think the supplement has helped with my increased fitness regime and to lower my blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
I'm David Hall, founder of Diamond Gusset, where we're proud of our 100% grown and sewn American-made jeans. Whether you're out for dinner, working on the farm, or on the road, Diamond Gusset Jeans offers a full spectrum of styles and sizes for any occasion. To find yours, visit gusset.com. That's GUSSET.com. Our loyal customers enable us to continue sponsoring Liberty media outlets like the one you're listening to. In Liberty, David Hall, Diamond Gusset Jean Company.
Aging is one thing that affects everyone. George has talked about the power of stem cells for years. Now, there's a new serum that harnesses that stem cell power to bring back your youthful look. Beverly Hills doctor Nathan Newman.
Stem cells are basically our fountain of youth. This is what maintains our body's reparative and regenerative abilities. As we age, every cell breaks down and needs to be replaced, and what replaces it is the stem cell.
Dr. Newman and Janess have developed Luminess. Luminess takes the science of stem cells, using the same growth factor complex that literally heals our cells, slowing the appearance of the aging process. Apply Luminess twice daily, and on average, see results in a week. Learn more, watch our video, and order today at a special Coast website, healthylooking.com. Plus, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. Again, that's healthylooking.com. Luminess, for a healthier, much younger, better-looking you. Buy now at healthylooking.com.
Bacon lovers, we ship free. Try our amazing bacon. No refrigeration required. Proprietary value-added packaging provides 10 years shelf life and protects the leanest, thickest, center-cut, fully cooked bacon in America today. Ready to eat right from the pouch or warm and serve. Savory and delicious. Wholesale price for your everyday use. Order today at readytoeatbacon.com. readytoeatbacon.com.
Responsibility begins and ends with our partners and our shareholders, and that's it.
There is no freedom without the law.
Get it? Got it? Good.
Welcome back to Wall Street Raw and the final segment with Mark Leibovit. Now, here's the elf himself.
Welcome back to Wall Street Raw on this long Labor Day weekend, Saturday, September 1st, and we're always excited and pleased that you took the time to tune in, particularly on a holiday weekend. But, markets are markets, and, they say markets never stop trading, even though it could be a holiday, people planning and strategizing about what they're going to buy and sell on the following days. So we're at that point, and we're at that point coming into September, where usually we experience some market indigestion, and we start to see some signs of that on Friday before the holidays. So we'll see if that's of any great significance or not. Big stocks like Apple and Amazon surged to new highs during the week, so there's still a lot of optimism out there, and certainly not calling for any bear market now, but that September period sometimes offers some indigestion. And our good friend Sinclair No from KFN and 1510 Phoenix, and author of the incomparable blog EatTheBankers.com, is on the line. Sinclair, I really appreciate you joining us on a Labor Day weekend.
My pleasure. Thank you, Mark. Good to be with you.
So
I think we're going to see indigestion. I think it'll probably come from trade.
Oh, I mean, from the Chinese story and from the Canadian negotiations? Is that
and don't forget the Europeans. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a big story this week that they're getting a little indignant. They want more sovereignty away from strategy changes here in the U.S. side. So what's your pleasure? You want to talk about Europe? Where are we there and versus Canada or China? They all seem to be complaining one way or another.
Well, let's start with China, because that's where we're most likely, I think, at this point to see the next round of tariffs. $200 billion in Chinese imports are likely to see tariffs imposed relatively soon. We don't know exactly when, but there has been a call to move ahead with those tariffs. This would be in addition to the $50 billion in tariffs on Chinese goods that we've already seen, which we saw Beijing retaliate in kind. So there's $50 billion in tariffs from the U.S., from China. If there is another $200 billion in tariffs on Chinese goods, Beijing has said it would respond by slapping duties on $60 billion of U.S. goods. Now, you might say, well, why wouldn't they just go $200 billion to match? The simple answer is that they don't import that much from the United States into China. So they slap another $60 billion on. They're pretty much putting tariffs on not everything, but close to everything that they import from the U.S. That's where it starts to get really tricky for China. They export more to us than we export to them. So there are limits to what they can do as far as slapping tariffs on U.S. goods. Then you start wondering, well, what else can they do? They can literally do a whole bunch of things. They can do a lot to U.S. businesses operating over in China. This whole thing could escalate in any number of different ways. Meanwhile, over in Europe, we're seeing Germany and France saying, we're getting tired of all this. Maybe we'll just establish our own autonomy, try and set up our own financial systems away from the U.S. dollar. And that's where it really gets interesting. What if this catches on? It's not something that's going to happen overnight by any means. But what if that starts to catch on? And this goes back to the Iran sanctions, because you had several German and French companies that were doing business with Iran. Now they can't, or if they do, there's going to be a big mess. So they're saying, well, maybe we'll just figure out something to do on our own that doesn't involve U.S. dollars anymore. It's starting to get real interesting.
Good luck. That's a big bite to take on their part. But, I don't know if they're going to pull that one off, but we will see.
It absolutely is a big bite, but in the past, we didn't hear anybody even talk about it. Now there's some serious discussion.
Listen, the euro's been in trouble for a long time, Sinclair. Just my own personal opinion. I don't know if it's in a downtrend, so I think they're got more and more trouble here. And you've got the possibility of Turkey defaulting. We read that the last few days, and that could take down the Spain and Portuguese banks. So I think Europe's got a bunch of problems. I don't know if they're able to turn it kind of make that turn at this time in their financial existence, but we'll see.
Well, you start talking about Turkey as well, and some of the emerging markets. This is not a good situation. And yes, you are looking at Spanish and Italian and Portuguese banks that could be hit by a default coming out of Turkey if that happens. And it looks like it's certainly a possibility. Some U.S. banks could get hurt a little bit as well, nothing nearly as severe. But then it could spread to other emerging markets as well. And we're already seeing some of this in Argentina, for example. Venezuela has its own problems, unique from really almost anything going on in the U.S. or in the European Union. That just seems to be a uniquely Venezuelan problem. But it's happening in a variety of different emerging markets. And you start to see this kind of slowdown happening around the world in emerging markets. You start to see some dissent from Germany and France. You start to see trade between China and the U.S. breaking down over tariffs. That's how things slow down. That's how you move from a strong growth economy to a global economy that is not synchronized for growth with the U.S.
Meanwhile, we had good news out of Mexico. They came to terms there. We just have Canada now to deal with on our side of the pond. So let's see what happens there. They seem to be close, but some dispute with regard to Canada. But
you don't really have a deal yet with Mexico either.
Okay. I thought they did. I'm sorry. Okay.
Well, they kind of do. You're right. It's a step in the right direction. It's certainly that. But Trump actually has congressional authority granted to work on a trilateral deal with Mexico, Canada, and the U.S., not a bilateral deal with Mexico and the U.S. So he's got to get Canada on board before he can make it official. Maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. We'll see.
Yeah, Trudeau's been providing some resistance there, that's for sure.
But a step in the right direction with Mexico, which is trying to get this done before Enrique Peña Nieto leaves office in November. We don't know where Obrador, AMLO, is going to be headed as far as future negotiations with the U.S. at this point.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that there was no discussion of a wall between U.S. and Mexico in that negotiation, since we had heard through the entire pre-election that Mexico was going to pay for the wall, as you know. So apparently that wasn't even a point of discussion. Interesting.
Yeah, well, yeah, it just didn't even exist anymore. What wall?
So we only have about 60 seconds, Sinclair. So Jackson Hole came and went, and a Fed hike is likely here in September. That's the way it reads, right?
We're about 3 weeks away from the next Federal Reserve FOMC meeting. Yeah, we're looking at another rate hike in September unless everything crashes between now and then. And I think we're also looking at probably another rate hike in December from the Federal Reserve. That's what I took away from it. We'll get confirmation for the December, but September is definitely on track, and we're getting closer and closer to normalization. This past week, we saw the PCE inflation gauge, the core rate. This is the one that the Federal Reserve uses, 2%, right on target.
Okay. So they have the ammunition if they want to do it. Absolutely.
That's it. They have the justification to raise their rates. They're on target. The economy's looking good. Unemployment is low. Yeah, they're ready to roll.
Sinclair No, KFNN 1510 Phoenix, and author of the great blog, EatTheBankers.com. Thank you again for joining us, Sinclair.
Thank you.
And as we do each week, we close our show with our old friend Ed Hart from the Old Financial Network used to say, as we say, we will know in the fullness of time. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for listening to Wall Street Raw with nationally recognized market timer and previous Wall Street Week Alf, Mark Leibovit. If you missed any of today's show or to get in touch with Mark, please go to wallstreetrawradio.com. Any stocks or investment discussed on Wall Street Raw are not in any way a recommendation or solicitation to buy, sell, or hold. We first recommend you seek out a licensed financial professional for advice. Go to wallstreetrawradio.com for more information on Mark's newsletters and products.
High-performance investors and traders use superior financial tools to achieve superior returns. You have that tool with Mark Leibovit, nationally renowned top market timer, legendary television Wall Street Week Elf, and nightly business report market monitor, who shares with you his unique market tools and commentary at wallstreetraw.com. Here, Mark provides you with his latest ideas on how to help build and protect your wealth and help you avoid the next big market tsunami. Mark has a special free gift for listeners of his Wall Street Raw radio show. Go to wallstreetraw.com and sign up for his free monthly Cannabis Vice News Raw report. While there, go ahead and sign up for his free monthly Gold News Raw report. Both are totally free. No credit card information is required, and no one will call. Sign up today for your free Cannabis Vice News Raw report and Gold News Raw report at wallstreetraw.com.
It's a no-brainer. A Big Berkey water filter is the one you need, period. You need a water filter that removes chlorine, fluoride, pharmaceuticals, BPA, and other endocrine disruptors, pesticides, bacteria, viruses, and much more, right? And does it all at only 2 cents per gallon. Get the original and most trusted name in gravity water filtration, Big Berkey. And now GCN listeners receive 5% off ceramic filter systems using code GCN. Call or click 1-877-99-BERKEY or BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. That's 1-877-99-BERKEY.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Slingbow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug-out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of Slingbow, a new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.